कैसे बताऊं, क्या बताऊं?
Ask someone to ask people to learn more. Moderators can do it. Easy. चलो थोड़ा टाइम ले ये किसका हो अभी तक 5 मिनट
पुनीत सर, अच्छा ये कैमरा ऑन करें।
कैमरा रिवॉल्विंग है तो ऑन कैमरा ऑन
वही एक मिनट, मैं वर्चुअल बैकग्राउंड ये वो हटा दूं। हाय पुनीत, कैन यू हियर अस?
I can hear you, Nancy.
कैमरा मुझे ओके, HP वाइड विज, ये तो मेरा लॉजिक ग्रुप कैमरा। ऑलराइट, कैन यू सी अस फाइन?
Yeah, I can see. The Gabbys Toastmasters 2020. It's a audience view, right?
This is audience view.
Yeah, I can see.
So Saurav, this is coming in between. Let's set this up there. My audio is clear properly?
Yes, yes, it is clear.
How about now? Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Nancy. Even now also.
From any distance?
From any distance. Yeah.
From here as well and from here as well?
Yeah. But when you come to the come near to the mic, then it is more clear.
Then it's more clear.
But now also I can hear whatever you speak. I can
hear. If I want to do my installation ceremony and speech from here, can you hear me fine?
Yes, I can.
1 second. Is it better now?
Is it better now?
Yeah, I can clearly hear you.
Okay. Let's remove this chair, or we can push this. Okay. Eight chair. Hello, big room today. Good, good. अंदर डाल के रख दूं?
नहीं बीच में इधर आ जाएगा, बीच में लग जाएगा, इस साइड में आता है। This is your charger.
This is my charger.
इसका ना?
हाँ.
ये लगा लो।
Okay, so this view is very good, audience view.
You don't need mics and all together, right?
No mics, no
Speaker.
no speaker. Priyanka. It's on second floor. I mean the ground floor to call. Also, she went to the fifth floor.
हम लोगों को टैब चाहिए।
टैब नहीं लगेगा because audience view is there. Hello. Hey Priyanka. Just giving. I just couldn't hear your note. Whatever you need, let me know. Yes. There's a name.
Names of the current officers you already have.
Current, the incoming I have.
The incoming.
The outgoing I will
Outgoing I'll tell
confuse. VPN, tell me it is Dhwani Aditya.
Dhwani Aditya.
And your Ashwini Nagesh was the PR.
No, there was the VPE and the VPPR.
Oh, both. Okay.
After your revision, I had to discuss.
Okay. Okay. I don't know.
Now I can't hear anyone.
Now you can hear us.
Yes, yes.
Punith, Mika, all of these people are at.
But whatever you said, he couldn't hear because I put the mic off after we spoke to him.
That's why I had told Punith and Mika not to apply for B1, B2, B3. I told them to apply only for B4 so that their life is a little peaceful and not eventful. Because B1, B2, B3 has the Gabbys clubs.
Punith, can you hear us now? The whispers?
Yeah, I can hear.
Good. Okay, and secretary is?
Secretary is Secretary Lakshmi Sudha, and she continues.
Ah. Okay.
Who's that? Mamta.
Treasurer?
Arsheen, call her. Arsheen, come here.
Big room today.
Treasurer?
Treasurer is, the treasurer for Gabbys was,
Toastmasters.
who was the treasurer for the Gabbys?
Shama.
Name, outgoing,
Punith.
Punith Singh.
Me.
Punith, tell her no that you were the treasurer. Why
You can
did
hear us, we'll not speak.
No, you didn't mention the club name, right? We were three, we have.
today we are talking only the Gabbys?
And Sergeant at Arms?
Amit Gupta.
Oh, nice. Nagesha has planned lunch area direction.
Today, huh? What time?
12:30.
Sure.
Somewhere on afternoon.
Thank God we didn't plan at 10 o'clock breakfast.
You will not all either gone when I've given.
See, when you are planning your division contestants briefing, at the same time, when your club meeting is happening of the club that you are the president, then that's not the Gabbys value. I'm sorry. But the Gabbys, the clubs come first. If that's
Priyanka
not what
also
I
dished us that day, she said, some role takers meeting happened. Which division events, role takers meeting also started.
So Navish had set it up at that time. He set it up exactly at the same time with the Gabbys meeting. That's where I got pissed off. You are the president of the Gabbys International and you are setting up a role takers briefing at the same time when your club meeting is supposed to happen.
That is, in that time I had no control, so I'm not commenting.
Sir, I can't hear you.
Punith, you can hear us now.
Yes. Can you change the name of this,
This
two
would
laptops?
be-
No, I see Gabbys Toastmasters 2022, Gabbys Toastmasters 2022. Can you change one name? Yeah.
Yes, the rest.
Something. Lakshmi is joining.
I'm leaving and rejoining from the Springboard one.
Although you just need to change that.
I think
IPIN is there, 2175F.
2175
F.
small f.
Will not go for samosa too.
What?
He got it, yeah, in my place.
Huh?
आज इंस्टॉलेशन है ना
She got the samosas here only.
ना समोसा नहीं लेके आए, मैं something else.
Some snacks also.
Hey, good morning, Saurav, Nancy.
Good morning, Lakshmi.
Good morning.
And is that Meeta?
Yes.
Good morning, Meeta.
Happy
A
morning.
quick question that I had. What is the order for installation?
It starts with
Starting
president.
the sergeant at arms and then goes up.
Oh, yes.
The rest, Sergeant at Arms, then?
Treasurer, then secretary, then VPPR.
Either one,
VPR.
Okay.
that one.
after VP and VP and then President, 2175F.
2175.
Hi, DTM Iona. Good morning, good evening.
You have to write anything on the thing? Board notification?
You can write something. Gabbys meeting number 1. Today is.
Can I take that? पहुंची गई जो भाई टेंशन हाँ पहुंची राइट टाइम हेलो पहुंची गई जो राइट टाइम में टेंशन
Okay, we didn't stop the recording.
For today's meeting. I'm sure you are excited as I am. The meeting will be blocked for 2 hours and you are expected to stay for the entire duration. Before we start meeting, I want to highlight some key points. Your video should be on and the audio should be off, and audio should be only on when you are called to speak or need to speak. Regarding the topics of sex, religion, and politics, even though Toastmasters International does not put any restrictions on speaking on these topics, at the Gabbys Toastmaster clubs, we request all speakers and role takers to be mindful and responsible and abstain from expressing any controversial views on these sensitive topics. And also urge you to be cognizant of the fact that we as a club practice diversity and inclusion in the letter and the spirit, hence ensuring there are no sexist, racist, or any such undertones that create hostility and discomfort for members or guests. With that, let me now call upon the installation officer, R&D engineer at Nokia, fitness enthusiast, enjoy traveling to places that hold significant history. She is the area director, Area B4, District 92. Please put your hands together to welcome Toastmaster Priyanka Rannorey. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Punith. Such a wonderful introduction. Fellow Toastmasters and dear guests, a very good morning.
Good morning.
There's a very good saying that you can learn new things at any time in your life if you're willing to be a beginner. If you actually learn to like being a beginner, the whole world opens up to you. On this note, I would like to thank the outgoing club officers. I request the outgoing officers to please stand as I mention their names or are spotlighted who are connected online. President, Distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel. Vice President, Education, Distinguished Toastmaster Saurabh Datta.
Stepped outside.
Vice President, Membership, Vani Adesara. Vice President, Public Relations, Distinguished Toastmaster Saurabh Datta. Secretary, Lakshmi Sujata. Can I have a spotlight, please? Yeah, thank you. Treasurer, Punith CK. Sergeant at Arms, Amit Gupta. On the behalf of the club, I take this opportunity to thank you for all the stupendous work done. Thank you for everything that you have accomplished so far, and good luck to everything you will in the future. With the power vested in me as the installation officer, you are discharged from all duties and responsibilities as officers of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club at the business end of 30th June 2024. I request all of you to please give them a huge round of applause. Thank you. Now, as I take the names of the incoming officers of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club, please come forward and stand in the following orders. At the right of my side, and members connected online to please be spotlighted. Sergeant at Arms Mohan Rao T.
Mohan, can you be on camera?
Yeah, Nancy.
Treasurer Prabha Lohaniwal.
Prabha hasn't joined.
Secretary Lakshmi Sujata. Vice President Public Relations, Distinguished Toastmaster Saurav Datta. Vice President Membership, Paduka Kanan. Vice President Education, Mukund Joshi. And President, Distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel. I would request you all to please join me here as we write toast my side.
We need to join her, is that right? JPPR, then BPM, and then Presiding.
Okay.
Yes, after you, sorry. BPPR, BPM.
And the officers who would be connecting online to please hold a pen.
Is it okay if I don't have one?
You can raise your
Raise
hand.
your hand. I'm here to install the officers of the club, Gabbys Toastmasters Club, and prepare them for the challenge that lie ahead. Lakshmi, not right now. I'll let you know when to raise your. Their collective challenge is to make this club stronger and dedicate their efforts to helping people from all walks of life in an effective manner. Listen with sensitivity, think creatively, and passionately lead to help many individuals. Each officer is obligated to attend club executive committee meetings, attend district-sponsored club officers training, prepare a successor for his or her respective office. I request each officer to hold the gavel as a symbol of leadership or a pen as I briefly describe the challenges they must meet and the responsibilities they must fulfill. At Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Mohan Rao D. May you please hold the pen, the right. If you don't have, raise your hand. Yeah, thank you. You are expected to keep track of the club's physical property and such as banner, lectern, timing devices, and other meeting material. Maintain all club equipments in working order. Schedule the online meetings on time. Arrive early to prepare the meeting place and stay late to start all the club equipments when connected in person. Help the president make sure the meeting begins on time. You are also in charge of the meeting place itself, obtaining new space where necessary. You are also responsible and have a role to play in the business meeting, speech contest, and special meetings. Sergeant at Arms, Toastmaster Mohan Rao D, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? Hold the pen and say, I will.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Treasurer, Toastmaster Prabha Lohaniwal. In her absence, I would request the incoming president to take the pledge on her behalf. Toastmaster Prabha Lohaniwal, you are the club accountant as a treasurer. You are expected to keep timely, up-to-date financial records, file necessary tax documents, and prepare the club budget. Announce when it's time for members to pay their dues. Explain the due structure to the members. Collect dues. Work with the secretary to ensure that the club submits dues on time to Toastmasters International World Headquarters. Treasurer Toastmaster Prabha Lohaniwal. I would request the incoming president, Distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel, to confirm on her behalf, will she do the duties to the best of her ability?
Yes, she will.
Thank you. Secretary, Toastmaster Lakshmi Sujata. As a club secretary, you are expected to I would request you to please raise your hands. As a club secretary, you are expected to maintain all club records, maintain club flies, handle club correspondence, and make note of the minutes of meeting and the executive club meeting. Maintain official records of the meeting, maintain an accurate membership roster, take care of noting down attendance of the meeting, work with the treasurer to ensure the new members' application and dues get to the Toastmasters International World Headquarters as soon as possible. Secretary Toastmaster Lakshmi Sujata, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
Yes, I will.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Vice
We can't hear you, Toastmaster. Your voice is not audible.
Distinguished Toastmaster Saurabh Datta, as the Vice President Public Relations, you are expected to use a variety of means to promote and attract visitors to the club through publicity, promote members and recognize members' achievements in as many mediums as possible, such as digital, print, and various sources, if and when required. Update web content and safeguard the Toastmasters brand identity. Enlist your fellow club members in PR activities, providing them with promotional materials and ideas for inviting guests. As a Vice President Public Relations, you will find yourself writing news releases, creating and distributing flyers, and maintaining the club's presence on the web and in the community. Vice President Public Relations, Distinguished Toastmaster Saurabh Datta, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Thank you. Vice President Membership. Toastmaster Paduka Kannan, as a Vice President Membership, you are expected to lead the club's membership building efforts, greet the guests and provide them with the information they need to join. Make sure each guest hears about the benefits of Toastmasters and transform them into members. Help members with any requirements during their journey. While the VPPR promotes people to visit your club, you motivate the current members to invite guests. Promptly give new members application and dues to the secretary and treasurer. Represent your club at the area and division council meeting. Vice President Membership Toastmaster Paduka Kannan, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability? I will. Thank you. Yes. No.
Oh,
Vice President Education, Toastmaster Mukund Joshi. Toastmaster Mukund Joshi, as the Vice President Education, you are expected to gain commitments from the members to set educational goals for themselves. Assure that club members are aware of their schedule of meeting goals. Schedule members' speeches and projects. Serve as a resource for questions about education awards, speech contests, and the mentor program. Plan meetings that will assist members in meeting their individual goals. Work with your members to ensure that they submit their application for educational awards promptly. As second highest ranking officer, preside over the meeting when the club president is unavailable. Represent your club at area division and district council meeting. Vice President Education Toastmaster Mukund Joshi, will you perform these duties to the best of your ability?
I will.
Thank you. Distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel. Distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel, having been elected as the club president of Gabbys Toastmasters Club, you are the chief executive officer of this club, and you are expected to preside all the club meetings and at all regular and special meetings of your executive committee. We'll see that this club meets the needs of its current members to achieve the communication and leadership goals. Establish a club climate that is supportive, stimulating, and rewarding to its members. Realize that among the resources available to your commitment is towards fellow club members, officers team, area director, division director, district 92 officers, and officers of Toastmasters International Headquarters. You hold the gavel as a symbol of the power and authority that your club has given to you during your term of office. I am confident that you will use your power and authority wisely and with restraint. You are a member of your team as well as a leader. A team is more than a collection of people. It is an emotional force rooted in the feelings, thoughts, and actions of all members with the common goal of achievement, sharing, and mutual support. You will work with your team members to create a healthy, dynamic club, a club which everyone is proud. Will you, as a president, accept this challenge and perform your duties to the best of your abilities?
I will.
Thank you. It is now my pleasure to declare these Toastmasters installed into the office to which they have been elected. I request all members to please stand, and members connected online to please raise your hands. Switch on your camera and please raise your hand. Yes. Dear Toastmasters of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club, the growth and development of the Toastmasters program in Gabbys Toastmasters Club depends largely upon the action of this group. Your officer team has pledged to serve this club to the best of their ability, to be the best Toastmasters club possible, and to meet the needs of all its members. Your club will need active participation from each one of you. Do you, as members, pledge to stand by the club and work individually and collectively with your officer team throughout to make the Gabbys Toastmasters Club the finest Toastmasters Club it can be?
Yes,
Thank you. All of you may be seated. And the members connected online can bring your hand down. So by the power vested in me as the installation officer, it is now my pleasure to declare these Toastmasters installed into the offices to which they are elected for the term July-December 2024. I now invite the incoming president, distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel, to take the stage and share few words. Yeah, you all may be seated.
Thank you so much, our installation officer, Toastmaster Priyanka Rannorey. May we have a round of applause for our installation officer. Do you think I'm standing here to talk about educational awards? How many awards we have achieved in the last term? I think by now, we all know it's more than 150 awards. There is no point in flaunting this over and over again, right? Or am I here to talk about members we have added in the past 1 year? More than 65 members we have added in the last 1 year, and this has been talked about many a times, as recent as the Gabbys Day. Or am I here to talk about, yet again, the Gabbys Premier League? Even if I ask my kittens, they'll tell me it's the Gabbys that was the winner, the eldest of all the clubs. I'm not here to talk about all these things that we have done in the last 1 year. As I take the stage today here, I want to talk about our journey since inception. How the Gabbys has been the trendsetter. Yes, you heard me right, the trendsetter. When we started this club in 2020, the biggest challenge generally for a club is to have meetings, to understand about role takers, and to run the club smoothly. On top of that, achieving and understanding DCP is just amazing. In our first year, we not only achieved the DCP awards, I mean the President Distinguished Status for the club, we realized that this challenge is not only for the Gabbys, where we are looking for role takers every meeting. We are not able to understand how to connect with the community outside, especially District 92 or otherwise as well, worldwide community. That time, the entire world in Toastmasters, rather the Toastmasters world, was struggling with the online platform. We have recently moved from offline to online meetings, and everyone was just dealing with those challenges. At that point in time, the Gabbys started this WhatsApp group, worldwide VP education. That group became the go-to point for all the VPs across the world to post their requirements, and that connected the world. That was the first trend we started. Post that, we are seeing so many WhatsApp groups. I'm sure the area directors and division directors, they would know how many groups now we have. But that's where it all started. Next year, the second program year, 2021 to 2022. Again, President Distinguished Status, Medley Award, this award, that award. We already have an awards booklet that has been launched by our VPPR, but on top of that, what else did we do? That point in time, we realized that, okay, table topics and other things we are doing in silos. People come to a meeting, or even our own members, they come together, attempt a table topic, they go. But how we can bring the world together? That's where we conducted a worldwide table topic marathon that ran for 12 hours at a stretch. That was hosted by 6 different countries. People from 6 different countries, they came together. They sent their people to be the TTM for those 12 hours. After every 1 hour, the TTMs were changing, but it kept on going for 12 hours at a stretch. As a result of that, whenever there's a special event at the Gabbys, you would see all these people from Malaysia, Singapore, or any of the countries across the world, they are here. How do they know us? They know us because we connected with them. We channelize that energy so that we can bring up opportunities for people to shine. That's what we did in our second program year. Third program year. Third program year was again to talk about the Medley Award, the President Distinguished Status. That was not all. We showed the world that, yes, when you have a lot of membership strength, you can multiply in 2 clubs. Before the end of third program year in June, we multiplied in 2 clubs, and the birth of the Gabbys Online Toastmasters happened. That's not all. In the third program year, we conducted Speechcraft program. Speechcraft program, all the clubs do. But we ran 5 patches parallelly, where people were struggling to conduct 1 meeting in a week. We were conducting 6 meetings in a week. That's where we showed that, okay, this is doable. We can create more opportunities. And by creating more opportunities, Speechcraft was not the only thing. The Gabbys Online, inception of Gabbys Online was another thing that happened. And nowadays, people are wondering, how are we creating so many opportunities by opening more clubs? And they're reaching out to us to understand how is it doable, how they can leverage from the same. That's one of its kind. And I've never seen anyone in the entire world who has multiplied into 2 clubs. So that's what we have done in the 3rd program year. 4th program year, Speechcraft happened yet again. This time not 5 batches, but 8 batches. Yes, 8 batches we conducted. Along with that, more community outreach programs where we had a stall at Durga Puja event, Toastmasters who connected with us, the Gabbys Toastmasters who went to that stall and actually spoke to people about the club to bring awareness about the club. They learned public speaking there, dealing with actual public, trying to persuade them. That was the learning. But community outreach, yes, we have done that. But what was the trend-setting part here? Well, the trend-setting part started in June. The inception of that idea, the thought of that idea happened in June, but implemented in July. And what was that? Our performance dashboards. By June, the end of 3rd program year, we achieved 92 educational awards. And before that, there were some elements in Toastmasters who were already questioning, is it truly happening? Or Gabbys is just filing awards on the base camp and not even completing speeches. Now you all are here sitting in front of me. Tell me, is it truly happening? Are we doing speeches?
Yes.
We do. But how do we prove this? They say God is in the details and details are in the data. We brought the data together and published the performance dashboards, the performance that was not there anywhere on Toastmasters website, accessible to everyone. Now it's accessible to everyone. They can go back and check how many speeches we have done in one single day, every week, every month, and how many different members are achieving these awards. Yet another trend-setting part that we have done in the last program year, or rather this program year, still 4 days, 28 it is, 2 days to go. That's about the journey so far. Something that has never been done before, we have been doing so far. This was not possible without anyone's support. All of this that we have achieved, it was our club members who came forward, supported for everything that we have done. But now it's our responsibility to come forward and tell what's going to happen next. How are we going to set the trend for the next program year? I must say, this program year, the XCOM is already running the brains, running their horses to understand what can be done better. And what can be done better this year is the public speaking that you are experiencing within Toastmasters. We are planning to bring in more of accredited speakers from the Gabbys. We are planning to bring in Speakers Bureau in the Gabbys and more professional opportunities for you all to practice public speaking within Toastmasters, outside Toastmasters, and to get a holistic learning altogether. That's the plan for this program year. And yet again, we might have the determination to achieve all of this. But as the president of the Gabbys, standing here, what do I need from all of you? Support. Support. And that's what I will look forward to. That's my acceptance speech as the Gabbys, as the president of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, give it to her, she'll hand over back. Keynote.
Thank you so much, President Toastmaster Nancy Goel. I have seen Gabbys grow and bound and been very, very supportive at the district level. And I know Gabbys will always continue to do so. And there's no doubt about how Gabbys grow because they have been an example for many clubs across. With this, I would like to thank Gabbys as a family, because even I'm also a part of the Gabbys family, for everything. So let's give ourselves a huge round of applause. And with this, I would like to hand over the stage to the president of the club, distinguished Toastmaster Nancy Goel. Thank you.
All right, I'm surprised nobody has opened this meeting. With this, I open meeting number 186 of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club. It's time to move on with our meeting. For the benefit of our Toastmaster guests, I don't see, okay, a few of the guests are here. Toastmasters is a 100-year-old organization where you get to overcome glossophobia, you get to become better leaders. But what I have shared in my acceptance speech, if you are a member of the Gabbys, you can get to do much, much, much more with the safety net all around you. That's about the Toastmasters and the Gabbys. It's time to introduce our Toastmaster of the day. Our Toastmaster of the day is here with a beautiful theme. Something I know nothing about, but I'm sure she is an expert of the same. She is a product manager with Salesforce, but this is not what she wants to be known as, a past area director. She is somebody who loves to go to open mic poetry. She loves to travel. Please put your hands together for young and vibrant, always dashing Toastmaster Arsheen K.
So I would like to again welcome all of you to the meeting. And let me tell all of you, you're in for a scam today. I first want to start with what is your idea of poetry? What is the one thing that comes to your mind when you think of poetry? Let's start with you maybe.
Poetry, maybe emotions.
Okay, emotions. Anyone else? Sir, poetry, what is poetry for you?
Message,
A message?
creativity, or
Creativity.
layman's terms with 2 lines rhyme.
Okay. Toastmaster Neha, what is poetry for you? Okay. Toastmaster Punith, what is poetry for you?
Sharing his thoughts in a most creative way, on his own way, personal creativity.
Okay. Is there any guest on the meeting? Would you like to volunteer? What is that one word that comes to your mind when you think of poetry?
Sudharma is raising her hand.
Okay. Yeah, Sudharma.
For me, poetry is like expressing our own emotions and feelings
Yes.
in creative way.
Okay. I'm actually very happy to hear all of your definitions of poetry because I thought the first thing that would come to your mind when I would say poetry would be a set of rhyming sentences.
That was me.
Yeah. And I thought, okay, I am here to bust the myth. But the myth has been busted already. So we're starting on a very good foundation. If I were to describe poetry, poetry is in the flow. Poetry is expression, poetry is creativity, poetry is all that and a lot more. Poetry is what keeps me alive. And so today's topic is the word of expression, poetry. But I think everyone here and on the call always has something to express. It's just our medium is different. My medium is poetry. And today I'd like you to meet my friend. I googled poetry and obviously there were a lot of definitions that came up, but there was this one quote which was very beautiful that stood out for me, which was, poetry is a sword of lightning, a sword ever unsheathed, which consumes the scabbard that contains it. So whoever contains that poetry or whoever is the person out of which that poetry comes is the person who is going to be full of power, who is going to be full of words, creativity, and expression. So on that thought, I'll start with a small piece of mine, and all throughout this meeting, you will see pieces of mine that I have written in the past, which I call poetry. This piece is called The Idea of You. What is the idea of you? Is it what you become when surrounded by people you love, or the ones you hate? Or is it that dejected self after a disappointment, or that being that gets overwhelmed by a sudden high? Is it that which gets troubled when people change and grow out of a relationship with you, or that which gets bored of monotony? Or maybe that which glares at the glaring sunlight, like the truths of life to absorb the harshness, or just that which reminisces love on a full moon night, the light shining bright. It might be that which tries to change or get used to the changes of patterns of people, of places, but it might also be that which fails to try and stops to sleep. It could be that adult who wishes to go back to being the child, make sandcastles, and just eat, sleep, repeat. But it could be that child who wishes to grow up and glow up, and grow into a world where she could mold her life how she always wanted to. But it definitely is not who they say it is what you say. We come across people who try to define what we have become, or how much we have changed, or how different we are than them. But they can never tell you the idea of you. Only you can do that, which means you can be absolutely anything and everything that you want. All of this, or much more, or none of this. So with that piece, let's get into the meeting. And all throughout the meeting, please feel free to raise your hand, volunteer, and give like 2-3 lines of shairi or poetry that you have written. This is a completely open forum today. For the benefit of the guests and the members, the pattern of today's meeting is slightly different from the conventional Toastmasters meeting. We generally have a prepared speeches section, we have a table topic section, and then we have an evaluation. But today, we had the installation ceremony, we will have a prepared speeches section, we'll have an evaluation, and at the end, we have a very interesting keynote speech on evaluation. To conduct the meeting in a timely manner today, we have the ever-bustling, full of energy, and high on light Toastmaster Sudharma. Toastmaster Sudharma, I would hand it over to you to explain your role for today. She's the timer, and she will explain us how she will keep us in time.
Thank you, Toastmaster Arsheen. As timer, I will today time prepared speech, keynote speech, evaluation, and Q&A. We have 5 to 7 minute speech today. At 5 minutes, I will show green card. At 6 minutes, I will show yellow card. At 7 minutes, I will show red card. There will be 30 seconds grace period at the upper and lower end. Prepared keynote speech, we have 30 minutes. At 28 minutes, I will show green card. 29th, I will show yellow card. 30th minute, I will show red card. Evaluation, we have 2 to 3 minutes. At 2 minutes, I will show green card. 2 minutes and 30 seconds yellow card. 3 minutes red card. There will be 30 seconds grace period at the lower and upper end. Q&A session is 15 minutes. I will show red card at the end of 15 minutes. Over to you.
So we have only one prepared speech for today, and it would not do justice if I don't introduce the speaker properly. Today we have amongst us DTM Sudeesh. DTM Sudeesh, do we have you in the room? Okay, sorry. I'm so sorry. Okay, so the path we are tackling with today is motivational strategies, and the elective we have is L3P2, if I'm not wrong. The speech title is called Using Descriptive Language, and the speech objective is the member has to practice writing a speech with an emphasis on adding language to increase the interest and impact of the speech. So who is DTM Sudeesh? He joined Toastmasters to be a better speaker. And over the past few years, he said he has mastered the art of voice modulation, but he wants to keep getting better every day while he's at it. I want to confirm that we have his evaluator Toastmaster Mukund in the room. Yes. And yeah, I'm confirming that. So Toastmaster Sudeesh would request you to be here. TTM Sudeesh, feather, feather, TTM Sudeesh.
It was the monsoons. Wind in September in Bangalore was so harsh. As I was waiting on the terrace of our house, I could feel the wind was blowing. Papers and leaves were floating. Somewhere I could see a feather, gentle, delicate, just dancing in the wind. It reminded me of a time from my childhood. I too was like a feather, just floating through life. Toastmaster of the day, fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. Let me take you back to that magical night from my childhood. It was a windy, dark night, and I found myself floating over the majestic coconut trees of my grandma's garden, like a delicate feather. Suddenly, a disrupting sound echoed. He was picking and stealing the coconuts in the moonlit night. With a jolt, I screamed, thief, 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 thief. In an instant, lights flickered on at home, then in the neighborhood. My uncle and father, caught in the spell of an invisible thief, raced around the house, joined by curious villagers. Little did they know that it was merely a vivid dream woven by a child's imagination. As a child, I often dreamed of floating like a feather. But this dream had become a nightmare for my family, as I would often scream in the middle of the night, disturbing their sleep. Some of the villagers will complain to my parents. Be careful, this boy is cursed by spirits. Take him for me, imagine. And I was like, oh God. Oh God, I'm cursed. And I did not feel as light as a feather. Rather, I felt I was a nuisance to her. But then my grand stood solid like a rock and supported me and encouraged me and imparted the greatest lesson of my life. She said, come here. You can dream, my child. Don't be guilty. Perhaps life is teaching you a lesson through these recurring dreams to be like a feather, delicate, gentle. But be aware of the thieves who may steal your energy. Since then, life has caught up with me on my journey through adulthood. In my 30s, I became a workaholic and started valuing time as currency, neglecting the invaluable moments with my family, my daughter, and my wife. That conflicts arose in our relationship. My family departed, leaving me in spirit. I returned home to a silent abode, and the smell of dust hung in the air. Silence was deafening. My daughter's broken on the floor, stirred memories of the days when our house was filled with her laughter. I used to sing with her favorite movie song. Arari-raro, raro, arari-raro. Arari-raro, raro, arari-raro. And now she's here, yet too far. Arari-raro. Did you all feel the heaviness of guilt like I did? Are you missing someone in your life? Perhaps your son, daughter, siblings, parents, or even your partner, because of the guilt of your spoken or unspoken words or actions. For me, I thought reconciliation offering expensive toys as a restitution. What a fool I was. I thought that toy could fix everything. But it turns out my daughter had other plans, and her firm words shook me. She said, Easy, Papa. At home, I don't have anyone else to play with these toys. What I need the most is not toys, but you. I need you, Papa. I need you. That was a pivotal moment for me when I realized that love matters more than wealth. I apologized to Mike. And thankfully, things improved. And our house is now filled with loud laughter. Joy, once more. Dear friends, guilt and remorse can weigh heavily on, like the thieves in my dreams, but you have the power to set yourself free. Why carry a guilty heart indefinitely? Take a moment right now to reflect on your life. Is there a relationship you need to mend, an apology you need to make? Today, I encourage you to apologize when appropriate. Seek forgiveness when required, and confide in your trusted friends and keep your heart light. Why to carry the baggage of guilt for the rest of your life? Unburden yourself, even if it means humbling yourself. Go on your knees if you have to. Be light like a feather, delicate, humble, and just float in the air, freely. Toastmasters.
It felt like I'm in a 5D or 3D or a 4D movie theater, where my chair is fixed and it's being done like this, and I'm sometimes in a desert, sometimes in a snowy plain, but amazing storytelling. It took me some time to come back to earth, but sorry for that. Before going on a short break for today, and diverging from my pieces, I would like to narrate a piece that I personally like a lot. The piece is called The Road Not Taken, and it is written by Robert Frost. I think it's a very important and pivotal piece. When I first read it, I was in school. And while it did not help me decide the course of my life, it helped me make sense of the crossroads that I, a lot of times, am faced with. The road not taken. Two roads diverged in a yellow wood. And sorry, I could not travel both. And be one traveler, long I stood, and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted beer, though as for that passing there had warned them really about the same. So basically, both the roads were looking the same. And both that morning equally lay, in leaves no step had trodden black. Oh, I kept it for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, somewhere ages and ages hence. Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by, and that has made all the difference. With this, we'll take a short 5-minute break and meet after the break for the second part of the meeting.
Yes. All right, we're good to go.
Yeah. Okay, let's get back to the rhythm. Not of poetry, but of the meeting. I would want all of you to, I'll do this surprise exercise almost at the end of the meeting. Go on the internet, or if you have your own piece of poetry, keep it ready. I'm going to very randomly pick volunteers on the call here in the room. And you feel free to narrate anything and everything that you find beautiful in the internet. It can be two lines, which may or may not rhyme. It can be a poem that you like. It can be a piece of work that is written by your favorite artist, but just keep it ready. Because at the end of this meeting, I'm just going to randomly take your name and put you on the spot because we don't have a table topic session for today. So let's get back into the meeting. Starting with, again, a poem I love by Emily Dickinson, Hope. Hope is the thing with feathers that perches on the soul and sings the tune without the words and never stops at all. And sweetest in the gale is heard, and sore must be the storm that could abash the little bird that kept so many warm. I've heard it in the chillest of land and on the strangest of sea, yet never in extremity. It asked a crumb of me. So basically, Emily Dickinson talks about the fact that you can find hope in even the most remote places in your life. When life seems to come at a dead end or a crossroads, that hope is sitting here like a bird perched on your soul. With this, we move on to the next part of the meeting today. After that smashing speech by DTM, we would like to call on board his very skilled evaluator, Toastmaster Mukund. To introduce Toastmaster Mukund, I will go a slightly non-traditional approach. I had the pleasure of listening to Toastmaster Mukund's evaluation sometime back. And before that, my point of view about evaluations was that people come here and show off their skills and do it in the time frame that is allowed to them, which is 2 to 3 minutes. Toastmaster Mukund's evaluation went on for 3 minutes, 20 seconds or 3 minutes, 10 seconds. I think he was disqualified that day. But that was the first day in my whole Toastmaster history that I learned how to evaluate a speech without making it all about yourself, about the evaluator itself. So with that, I'd like to hand over the stage to Toastmaster Mukund.
Thank you for that wonderful evaluation. Okay, all right. DTM Sudeesh. First of all, congratulations on this wonderful speech. For the first time ever in my journey as a Toastmaster, I've heard such an excellent speech, to be honest with you. And I have enough donkey's years of experience in the Toastmasters world to tell you the fact. Your speech had everything that a descriptive speech should have, whether it is a figurative language, whether it is descriptive language, or whether it is literary elements. You had all the 3 ingredients in your speech. There was hardly any literal language that I saw, although there could have been a couple of sentences in your entire speech. It was so flowery. To go to some example, you started off, of course, with the obvious, be light like a feather, right? Beware of people who might steal your dreams. That was really profound. My dream turned into others' nightmare. Now, these are all the figurative languages that I was able to make note of in your speech. The silence was deafening. Another one. Here is a masterpiece. I used time as currency. Hardly we get to know that time is a currency, right? We just while away our time as if it's free to all of us. And that's where you brought in the depth in your speech. Your descriptive language was no less great. Keep your heart light. Don't carry the baggage of guilt, right? Be light like a feather, delicate and humble. Love matters more than wealth. Now, these are some of the descriptive language that you use, and also the way you spoke about the coconut tree and how you woke up, you cried thief, and people came around you. It was so descriptive that we could simply visualize those things actually panning out in front of our eyes. Excellent way of describing things. And to talk about the literary elements, right? You were the protagonist in your speech, right? You also had antagonists who are basically the other people who came and whom you were a nightmare, basically, who tried to steal your dreams, etc. So there were literary elements also in your entire speech. There was a huge emotional impact, DTM Sudeesh, in your speech. There are a lot of huge lessons for all of us in your speech. Be light as a feather, be humble, make amends in your life. Go and apologize if you want to right now, and don't waste your time, or else it might become too late. That is the message that we got in your speech. An amazing emotional impact in your whole speech. If at all there was something that I found it difficult at times, just once or twice, I was not able to understand few words that you were speaking, right? And the whole thing was, so it became a little difficult for me to connect what happened now, about what you're speaking, what happened in the past. So there was a little bit of a problem on that front. But otherwise, I think it was an excellent speech with all the ingredients that is required for this particular speech. And the pace of your speech. The pace of your speech was perfect. There was no issues at all. You went on slowly, right? And wherever you want to bring in that impact, you raised your voice and then you mellowed down in certain cases. And then your entire body language and the way you are looking at everybody, your eye contact, at times you were looking over here, there, everywhere. I mean, it was totally a picture perfect, except for that one small bit. I really didn't find any else areas improvement. Now we know why you are a DTM Sudeesh. Thank you, and back to you.
A smashing evaluation for a smashing speech. Before moving on to the next segment, I would like to have a volunteer in the room who would like to read something off of the internet for poetry. Would you like to take a chance?
Sure, I have something saved.
Okay, Tanushika. Okay, Toastmaster Tanushika, your poetry, Toastmaster Tanushika.
Something that I read on, this was actually shared by my therapist. So here it goes. I'm washing my face before bed while a country is on fire. And it feels dumb to wash my face and dumb not to. It has never been this way. It has always been this way. Someone has always claimed a cocktail glass in one hemisphere as someone loses a home in another. While someone falls in love in the same apartment building where someone grieves. The fact that suffering, mundanity, and beauty coincide is unbearable and remarkable. Thank you. Wow.
Okay, let's have people on the call. Can we have Toastmaster Smruti? Okay. I see Toastmaster Gauri. Gauri, would you like to volunteer?
Yes.
Amazing.
Compassion and kindness, the threads that unite. In the tapestry of souls, they shine ever bright. For in giving and sharing, true wealth we receive, life's greatest treasures, in our hearts we believe. So listen closely to the murmurs of the breeze, in the rustling leaves and the whispering seas. Life's messages are written clear and bright, in the dance of the stars, in the stillness of night. Thank you.
Wow, that is so beautiful. The one common thread between how Gauri narrated and what Tanushika did with her poem was that with poetry, you can travel anywhere and everywhere you want to be. It can be a political poem without you knowing it's a political poem. It can be philosophical, it can be religious, it can be very offensive, but the person will not be hurt because it's so beautiful when you hear it. So I think both of you conveyed a very important message without it being in someone's face. And I think that needed to be said. With that, and one piece of mind, I'll finally hand it over to Ayesha. This piece is what I call happiness. Today, I write about the single most important fuel to run life, happiness. 1. In this journey called life, you, dear traveler, will see more autumn than springs. 2. You're going to be that pit stop where sadness unloads its cargo, failure comes like roaring rain, and disappointment knocks at you all the time. All of these as and when they please. 3. But you have a secret elixir, quite hard to attain, but powerful, the most powerful and pervasive, like the brightest rays of the sun. 4. Happiness is your magic potion, your blossom, your spring. 5. But happiness is something you have to strive for. You have to go at. You have to make an effort to let it enter your journey, your life. Your life can be the best version if you consciously make an effort to be happy, if you try to find reasons to smile and spread that smile across. It took me quite some time to realize that happiness can do wonders, but only if I make an effort to find it more than usual. For me, happiness is being around the people whose company, whose presence lights up my life. To be able to make them happy and be happy for them. I cherish souls that make an effort to make others happy, because no one's life is easy. But if you really love someone, their happiness should be your happiness and your happiness should be there. And this is how the cycle will grow and multiply. There's no harm in expecting from those who matter and make efforts to surprise them. Identify and stay around people who help you grow and encourage you to not give up on yourself, no matter what. Spread as much love as possible and never be afraid to do what you love. With this, I'll move on to Toastmaster Ayesha. We have a very interesting keynote speech today. Keynote speeches talk about important aspects of your Toastmasters journey, and in general, they make you better speakers professionally and personally. To introduce Toastmaster Ayesha, Ayesha has been a past president of Marketers Toastmaster Club and has won the table topics and the evaluation contest for District 82 in 2023 and 2024 respectively. Can we have a huge round of applause for that? And the journey doesn't end here. She has authored 4 books. She's the co-founder of Safe Circles. And anything that I say beyond this is going to be not justified in your introduction. Toastmaster Ayesha, I want you to take it from here and tell us how to do evaluations. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot for that lovely introduction. So it's lovely to be here and it's lovely to connect across the seas with my friends in India. Hello to everyone. It's lovely to see all of you. And so I'm delighted today to be talking to you about essentially the art of effective evaluations. Would it be possible for the Sergeant at Arms perhaps to help me with sharing the screen? At the moment, it mentions host disabled participants screen sharing. I have a few slides prepared for you that I'd like to share with you.
Share it now.
All right, great. I see it. Lovely. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the art of effective evaluations, or essentially how to deliver evaluations that people genuinely want to act on. So the first question that I want to share with you is really the idea that when a person stands on stage, how much attention do we need to give them as evaluators? Well, I believe that, like Uncle Ben says in Spider-Man, with great power comes great responsibility, or in this case, with even a tiny bit of power comes great responsibility. Why? Because when a person is delivering a speech, they've taken the time to write a speech, they've taken the time to remember it, to stand on stage, to be vulnerable with all of us, and to stand up and in front of a bunch of people, some of them strangers, and to speak to them. So as their evaluator, we owe them the responsibility to deliver on the power that we have to help to shape their speaking journey. Because the number one factor that I believe can affect a speaker's journey is how well they receive the feedback they get and how good that feedback is. So it's a huge responsibility, I think, to deliver a good evaluation. Now, an evaluation is not just something we deliver for others. We also benefit by delivering evaluations. The most obvious way in which we benefit is through developing our listening skills. We really have to pay attention and really listen and understand, and that's something that will serve us well throughout our lives. But it goes beyond that. Apart from that, we also learn the art of giving feedback. And that is something that can be so valuable because it can help determine what you also gain out of life. If you're able to deliver feedback, whether as a manager, whether as a partner, whether as a parent or a child, if you can give feedback in an effective way, that'll help you to improve your negotiation skills, to improve your persuasion skills, and it'll really help be a life skill for you. And the third way that evaluations help you are in terms of improving your own speeches. Now, you will be delivering speeches throughout your speaking journey, and by understanding what makes a good speech, you will learn that art through giving quality evaluation. So by giving evaluations, you really understand what is it that makes a speech great, and also what is it that speakers need to improve in order to make their speeches better. And that's going to go a long way towards improving your own speeches. Another thing I want to stress is that anybody can deliver a good evaluation. Because what is an evaluation? An evaluation is essentially saying, what did you see? What did you hear? And what did you feel? And since we all have eyes to see and ears to hear and a heart to feel, we all have the ability to evaluate. So we can all stand on a stage and give feedback to a speaker saying, I saw the wonderful way that you used your gestures. I heard the beautiful way in which you used vocal variety or volume in your speech. And when you spoke about that touching incident in your life, I felt really moved. So if we have the capacity to do that, we also have the capacity to deliver good evaluations. So whether you are brand new to public speaking, or whether you've been in Toastmasters for a long time, whatever it is, you have the capacity to deliver a great evaluation. And today we're going to learn ways in which we can avoid common mistakes made in evaluations and polish up our evaluation skills. So first of all, let's talk about some very common mistakes that I've personally seen delivered during evaluations. And these are things that we want to avoid. Why? Because with even a bit of power comes great responsibility. So it's important that we avoid these common mistakes. Now, the first thing that I want to talk about is the worst thing that you can do in an evaluation, which is deliver an evaluation that is entirely negative, one that really breaks and hurts the speaker. Now, why is this such a problem? Why is it such a problem to deliver a really negative evaluation? Now, in my own club, I have seen one of our really bubbly and really dynamic members of our club. She stopped doing speeches for 2 years. Why? After one really discouraging evaluation she received. This is what I mean when I say with even a bit of power comes great responsibility. Because if you deliver a discouraging evaluation to a speaker, you might be putting a huge roadblock in their speaking journey. So it's really important to avoid being completely negative as an evaluator and completely discouraging the speaker. We also have something innate to each of us, which is called a negativity bias, where we tend to focus more on the negative than the positive. It's not about being an optimist or a pessimist, etc. This is something that exists evolutionarily, where our ancestors, they had to pay attention to what was negative in their surroundings because they had to make note. If somebody ate a poison berry and they passed away, they needed to remember those berries are poisonous and pay attention to that negative information. I'm talking about like our hunter-gatherer ancestors. And if there was a particular bush where there's a tiger typically hiding, they need to remember that's the bush where the tiger typically is and stay far away from that. And those who didn't pay attention to what is negative in the environment, they did not live to pass on their genes to us. So we naturally tend to pay more attention to negativity in the environment as an evolutionary trait. But that also means that there's a huge tendency for the speaker to feel discouraged by your evaluation. So I think it's very important to begin with positivity and to maintain a tone of encouragement throughout your speech, even as you deliver points of recommendation. Now, the second thing that is a mistake is being entirely positive. Now, you might find that funny after I said being entirely negative is not good, but it's not good to be entirely positive either. Why is that? Because every time a speaker gets on stage, they are standing up there with the hope that they will have a chance to improve before their next speech. And your evaluation is going to help them to improve before the next one. So if we deliver an evaluation where we say, oh, you were fantastic, you were wonderful, I loved it, you are a distinguished Toastmaster, so obviously your speech must be fantastic, you're a champion speaker, there's nothing negative I can say about your speech. If we deliver an evaluation like that, the speaker doesn't get an opportunity to improve through that evaluation. So even if we have to look really hard for it, we have to find ways in which that speaker can improve. So what I usually do in order to, if I get a really good quality speaker to evaluate, and it's very difficult to find points for them to improve, what I typically do is I will think about the best speakers that I can think of. So sometimes they might be world champions of public speaking like Ramona J. Smith or Dhananjay Hettiarachchi or Muhammad Katani, or they might be, world leaders or well-known speakers like Michelle Obama or Barack Obama, or Steve Jobs, and so on. And I would compare them with those speakers, and I would think to myself, now, if these two people were up against each other in a speech contest, why is it that this speaker might not win that contest? And that helps me to kind of compare and see, okay, the energy level, it might be lacking in this speech, or the vocal variety might not be there, or the gestures might not be impressive. So that is a trick that I use in order to help me when I have a really great speaker in front of me to find those points to improve. Similarly, you can also keep in mind the common traits that we look for in evaluations. So for example, you have the everyday things. You have your eye contact, you have your body language, you have your gestures, you have your use of the stage, you have your vocal variety. And in terms of content also, you have your structure, you have your storytelling skills, tools like dialogue, tools like characters. So by keeping all of those things in your mind, you can actually identify, is this speaker doing a good job? So leading up to the district championships, what I would do is, I would actually have an acronym in my mind to help me to remember all of those things. So for example, I might use the acronym FAB Wedge SPA. So F might be for facial expressions. A might be for the alignment of the of the content and the body language. B might be for the body language. V might be for the vocal variety. E might be for the eye contact. G for gestures. S for the stage usage. P for the pauses. And likewise, I would have an acronym in my mind to help me to remember, okay, this is like a quick checklist of all the things I should be looking out for in the evaluation. Obviously, there's no time to comment on a whole laundry list of things, but it will help me to identify what are some key areas to keep an eye out for. Now, the third thing to make sure to avoid doing in an evaluation is repeating the speech. So I've seen this many, many times where somebody will come on stage and say, today we heard a speech from Toastmaster Ayesha, and she spoke about how she had had a fall and she hurt her leg and she had to go to the hospital and she thought her life was over. And then at the hospital, she met some people who have, been in the army and they have lost, all their limbs. And that really inspired her to keep moving forward. And they tell the whole story of the speech all over again before starting the evaluation. Now, this is a problem. Why is it a problem? Because we were all in the room for the speech and we don't need to hear it all again. So because we have limited time for our evaluations, it's important that we avoid repeating the speech and retelling the speech at the beginning of our evaluation. Now keep in mind, This is very different from quoting examples from the speech. It's very good to quote examples from the speech to support your points, but avoid starting your evaluation by telling the audience what it was that we heard from the speaker. So that is something you definitely need to avoid because you have very limited time for your evaluation, and all of that time needs to go towards the betterment of the speaker. Now, another thing to avoid is making your own speech. And this is also something that we sometimes see where somebody will come on stage and say, you know, today we heard Toastmaster Hafil do a speech about philosophy, and he spoke about Stoicism. And I personally prefer the Epicurean way of life. I'm also a student of philosophy, and this is why I think that the Epicurean philosophy is better than the Stoic philosophy, and start making our own speech, right? I'm sure you would have seen this sometimes, right? Now, this is a problem because, of course, evaluations are about the speaker. So we need to focus our attention on the speaker and avoid giving our own speech on stage. So if you are tempted to do that, what I would suggest is book a speech slot with your VP education and then deliver your own speech on a similar topic. Now, another thing to make sure to avoid is not giving specific examples. So sometimes we hear generic comments from evaluators where they say, I really like your body language during the speech. Now, the speaker might not understand what you mean by that. Sometimes there may be places in the speech where they had good body language, and there may be other places in the speech where their body language could have been better. So when we say you had good body language, you don't know what they will take away from that. So it's very important to be very clear and very specific about where exactly their body language was good. So for example, you can say, I really love the way when you spoke about playing cricket, you actually demonstrated batting that cricket ball. And that really brought that scene to life. So when we are very specific about what we really like, then we can help them to understand what should they keep doing, or alternately, where precisely they need to change up what it is they want to do. So for example, instead of saying, I would have liked it if you had better vocal variety during your speech. Instead, we could say, at the end of your speech, when you were delivering your key message, if you had spoken a little bit slower and maybe increased your volume a little bit more, you would have captured the attention of the audience in a stronger way, in my opinion. So when we are very specific like that, that really helps the audience, both the audience and the speaker to learn something very specific from your evaluation. Now, another thing to avoid is, of course, giving an evaluation that is longer than the speech. And we do see that sometimes you might grow old giving your evaluation. Especially with table topic evaluations, we see this where the table topic is just 1 to 2 minutes, but the evaluation is like 3 to 5 minutes. So this is definitely something to avoid. And it's important to keep your evaluation concise. So remember, the idea here is not to tell the speaker every single thing that they need to improve or every single thing that they did well. It's simply to give them a few points of feedback that they can take into their next speech to become better before their next speech. So we are not there to be their life coach and mentor. We can give them any amount of feedback we want after the meeting. But during the course of our short 1 to 2 minute evaluation, we need to keep it concise. So what I usually recommend is to give 3 positive points, 3 areas that you loved about the speech, and 2 areas that you believe they can improve in their next speech. Now, the reason that I chose this number is again through a lot of going through a lot of evaluations. I used to do 3 positive points and 3 points for improvement, but I started running out of time. And the thing is, what what also happens if you do too many points for improvement is that you don't have time to give those specific examples. And those specific examples are really where the substance of the speech lies, the evaluation lies. So it's good if you go into more detail in terms of what those specific points of improvement are, and rather than giving a huge list of points for improvement. So remember the main thing is you want the speaker to take away a few critical things. And the reason I have also skewed it to have 3 things that more on the positive side is again to overcome that negativity bias. And I also like to start with the positive and then move on to the areas for improvement. I know some people like to turn it around and do it the other way. But the reason that I like to do it this way is because once we get some positive feedback, some positive compliments, what happens? We open up like a flower. And now we are ready to hear any level of other feedback. But when we start with something negative, something, areas to improve, this could have been done better, what happens is we close up. We feel a little bit upset, a little bit defensive, and we have that negativity bias that kicks in. So when we start with the positive, and this is true even in real life as well, if you want to give feedback to your partner or your child, if you start with something positive, they will open up like a flower and you'll be ready to give them some alternate feedback as well. So try to keep your evaluations concise. I've even seen people actually justify every single metric. I gave you a 3 for eye contact because of this reason. I gave you a 2 for vocal variety because of this reason. But we don't have to justify every metric on that evaluation ballot. We just need to give a short evaluation. And I recommend 3 positive points and 2 points to improve. Now, the final common mistake I see is forgetting to summarize. And frankly, I am very guilty of this myself. I have even done it at a division contest. I sat down and was like, oh, I did a fantastic evaluation. And then after the next evaluator comes and does their speech and summarizes, I start thinking, oops, I did not summarize. So this is something we need to remember to do. Even though our evaluations are only 2 to 3 minutes, especially if it is a contest, if you don't summarize, you will lose a lot of marks on the judge's ballot sheet. So why do we want to summarize? Because summarizing helps the speaker to digest your feedback and to absorb what it is they need to do next. So you want them to have a little 30 seconds worth of information that, in the evening when they're seated on the toilet, they can think about, these are the things that I did well in my speech and this is what I need to improve before I write my next speech. So that's the reason that we summarize, to give them a nice, neatly packeted, tied with a bow, little summary of what it is we told them. So now let's talk about how do we really polish up our evaluations and deliver exceptional evaluations. And in my opinion, it is all about empathy. Now, if you look at a judge's ballot sheet for an evaluation contest, you will notice that you get a lot of marks for just being a nice person, for being for being positive, for being thoughtful, for being kind and caring towards the speaker. And there's a good reason for that. That is because we are motivated when people encourage us. And if we are able to deliver constructive criticism in a positive and an encouraging way, that is the sign of a good evaluator and somebody who is more persuasive in giving their feedback. So because of that, empathy is a big part of it. So by developing your empathy as a person and as a speaker, that will help you to ace your next evaluation. So let's talk a little bit more about it. A few tips on how to develop ourselves as evaluators. Now, one of the things to do is actually to get to know the speaker. So whether it's over refreshments or over WhatsApp, talk about their goals for the project and any specific areas that you would like them to, rather, that they would like you to consider in doing your evaluation. So for example, a speaker might come to you and they might say, I'm actually at the moment, I'm working on my body language. I tend to have closed off body language, and I want you to pay attention to whether I use open palm gestures throughout my speech. So you can actually ask them, what are your goals for this project? Are there areas where you want to develop and where you want to improve? And that's a great way to be a very constructive evaluator who meaningfully helps somebody on their speaking journey. Now, another very important thing to remember is that as an evaluator, you are delivering your opinion and not divine judgment, right? Now, sometimes we see evaluators come on stage and say, you shouldn't have done this. You can do it better if you do it like this. Next time, don't do this. This is what you have to change before your next speech. Now, when we speak like that, we are talking as if our opinions are facts. And when it comes to something subjective like public speaking, it's not a mathematics exam, right? There is no one correct way to do it. So there's no, it doesn't make sense actually for you to say, don't do this, or you should have done this, you must do this, you had to change this, because there's no one true answer and we definitely don't know what it is. So it's very important to, when you're giving feedback, to say not to use you language, you should not have, you could have, you must, but instead to use I language. In my opinion, I think if you did it like this, it would have been even more impactful. Or I believe that this can be done differently in this way. In my opinion, I believe, I fear, I felt. And similarly, we can't speak on behalf of the whole room. So for example, we can't say, nobody in the room could hear you, you were so soft-spoken. But we can say, I was seated in the front row and I was not able to hear you. So I would recommend using higher volume in your speech. So always try to use I language. Talk about your experience of listening to the speech rather than telling them you have to do it like this. As an evaluator, we are not gods. So we don't know anything for sure. We are only sharing our suggestions, our recommendations, our ideas with the speaker. So it's important to express our feedback in that way. Another thing that I personally like to do is to share my own flaws. And this really, again, helps people to open up and to understand that your feedback is not an attack on them, but you are also walking along the same path as them and holding their hand and walking with them. And you're also going on that journey as well. So, for example, when I'm giving feedback to speakers, I might talk about how if they have something in their body language that I would like to see them improve, I tell them about my own body language tics. So I tell them, I have a tendency to lean forward when I speak, I want to feel that connection with the audience so much, I lean towards them, but that means my posture isn't steady and it is not straight. And I might tell them, now in your case, you seem to have a similar body language tic as me, where you tend to rock on the balls of your feet while you're standing on stage. So when I share my own flaws as a speaker, that makes them feel more comfortable about receiving that feedback as well. Similarly, I might talk about the fact that I had a double-digit R count when I started speaking first. I might talk about how even now, sometimes I still speak too fast if I'm giving them feedback about vocal variety or about the use of pauses. So by sharing my own flaws, I help to open them up to receiving feedback. And in that way, the feedback is also cushioned in such a way that they can absorb it and appreciate it. Now, all of this talk about empathy and being nice is not to say that you should you should not tell the truth. You have to tell the truth. You have to give the speaker the feedback that they need to hear in order to become a better speaker. So even if you feel that your feedback might be difficult for them to receive, difficult for them to appreciate, it is possible, I believe, to deliver almost any feedback in a tactful manner with empathy. And how you do that is actually through these 5 words. And I can't take credit for these words because they are words that I personally heard when somebody else was delivering an evaluation keynote, a lady called DTM Trishma Pinto. She delivered she spoke about evaluations and she said these 5 words. And that must have been maybe almost 10 years ago, but I remember these words so well. And it's basically to tell the truth with love. I'll say it again, tell the truth with love. So if you can do that, that is really the way in which you deliver a high quality evaluation. You should be able to give any amount of feedback, whether you think somebody has a bit of an artificial sounding accent that you think that they should drop. If you express it in such a way that the speaker feels you're on their side and you're giving them feedback because you see potential in them and you want them to improve, you can give almost any feedback. And the key to doing that is to tell the truth with love. And you do that through your facial expression, you do that through your body language, your open gestures, your tone of voice. All of that comes into play when you're delivering an evaluation and giving that feedback. Now, I'll give you a few bonus tips, a few pro tips that I thought about when I was leading up to the district contest. Now, another thing you can do is try to give feedback creatively. Now, when you're delivering your feedback, don't just say, improve this, improve that. It's nice if you can include some creative ways of expressing your feedback. So for example, at one of the division contests, I was explaining to the speaker how they should try to use more open palm gestures. But I didn't just explain use open palm gestures. I explained that the reason that we tend to use closed palm gestures is because evolutionarily, we try to protect our vital organs when we feel vulnerable. That's why you see people cross their arms over their chest, or often sometimes so we are covering our heart in that way. You also see people cross their arms over their crotch because they're covering their private parts. They're again, a vital organ, right? For procreation. So by delivering this feedback in a creative way, you're giving the audience the opportunity to learn something, to share an insight with them that they may not have heard before. Similarly, when I explain that somebody should introduce pauses in their speech, I talk about some feedback that I heard at a district event a long time ago, where I heard from the runner-up at a World Championship of Public Speaking, Rory Waden. He said, write a 4-minute speech and deliver it in 7 minutes. And that balance 3 minutes is for pauses. And that is the power of pauses. So by sharing insights like that with the audience, if you can deliver your feedback in creative ways, this will really help your audience to recall your feedback, and most importantly of all, your speaker is more likely to act on that feedback and to really appreciate why they should build that feedback into their next speech. So with that, I will end my session here and leave you with the final thought that effective evaluations are all about empathy. So thank you so much, and back to you, Toastmasters of the Day.
Toastmaster Ayesha, there were many key takeaways from your session today, but the one takeaway that stood out for me personally was that whenever I don't have anything else to offer in the room, I should compare the speaker with Barack Obama or Michelle Obama. And then I will see pros and cons list. and then compare them with that. That's just so many tips and tricks for people who have never done an evaluation in their life, or even for people who have been evaluating other people for a really long time. And one last thought which you left us with, which was deliver evaluations with love. I think that's the biggest takeaway for all of us. So now there are two major things that are left for this particular session. I would first like to call upon Toastmaster Sudharma to give us a timer report, and then I would like to creatively infuse all of you with a few poems we have in the house. Toastmaster Sudharma, do we have the timer's report for today? Okay. Oh, okay. Before going into that, are there any questions in the audience for Toastmaster Ayesha? Yeah. Yes.
Okay, so Ayesha, sorry. So the question I have is that, because one of the points that you mentioned before is that we should try to know the speaker. I think that's where I have a slight disagreement for you, is that when we know the speaker, we end up evaluating the speaker and not the speech. Right, so we get awed by the speaker. Oh my God, you have been a keynote speaker. Oh my God, this and something. We form an opinion about the speaker. That's one which impacts our evaluation. Yeah. Second is, in the contest, we don't even have the luxury of knowing the speaker, because someone unknown will come and be the test speaker. So that is something that what's the next best alternative in such case?
Sure. Okay. I really like that question. So basically, in terms of getting to know the speaker, so my recommendation was to get to know the speaker before the speech, understand what it is that they would like to see improving on their speaking journey. Now, this is something that very much applies at the club level. It definitely does not apply at a contest, because of course, you don't have the opportunity to get to know the speaker before a contest. You will first see the speaker when they step onto the stage for the first time to deliver the test speech. So this does not apply for a contest, but this is essentially something to do for the benefit of a speaker in your club or in any club. The reason is because deliberate practice is more valuable to a speaker than generic practice. So what we mean by that is improving consistently in specific areas where you identify that needs improvement, that has the potential to really accelerate your speaking journey. So this is not something you are doing for yourself as an evaluator. This is a form of practicing empathy and helping your fellow club members in order to really develop in their speaking journey. So often there are things that we might know we're doing badly, or somebody may have told us, a previous evaluator may have given us feedback, you need to work on this. But knowing that is sometimes difficult to instantly apply. Therefore, we have to practice working on that feedback. So, and having that second pair of eyes on us to tell us, okay, pay attention if I'm leaning forward consistently in my speech, or if I'm maintaining strong posture, and hearing that from somebody else. Or you were still actually, most of the time you didn't lean forward, but when you delivered your key message, at that point, automatically you had that tendency to lean forward. So having that second pair of eyes on us is really useful. So it isn't something, this is something to be a good evaluator generally in life. And I believe that being a good evaluator is not something we do for a contest. It's not something that we do for ourselves. It's something that will benefit you throughout your life if you practice it as a life philosophy. And try to be somebody who can offer the best to other people, to speakers and so on. So this is more not a point for a contest, as you very rightly say. This is more a point for learning to give feedback well in terms of understanding what it is that that person will benefit from. I hope that cleared up I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you.
We have another question in the house.
Yeah, I will answer to this. In fact, I have a question more toward prioritizing your evaluation, right? While I was at a contest, in fact, I did not try based upon the grammar aspect of the speaker, but my mentor said, you all missed on that one. So I was like, okay, that's obvious. I felt that the other contestants would have covered it. So what is your take on prioritizing the positives and the areas of improvement for your speech?
Yeah, that's a fantastic question. And it's also very difficult because now, for example, if you're following the model that I follow, which is where you give 3 positive points and 2 areas to improve, you have only 2 areas to improve, right? So there might be sometimes 5 or 10 things to improve in that speaker, but you have to select among them. So even for me now at the district semifinals, I did my evaluation. I came back, I sat down, and the club member seated next to me said, "Oh, your evaluation was very good. But you know, the 2 evaluators before you, one of them spoke about this point, which you didn't mention. The other one spoke about this other point, which you also didn't mention." So I said, I did notice those things. I can talk about them, but I would be way over that red light if I did that, right? So you have to make choices and you have to prioritize. So the number one thing to do in terms of prioritizing is ask yourself, if this speaker can only improve one thing before their next speech, what is the one thing that would make a difference? Often at the club level, when I'm delivering my evaluations, I actively tell the speaker, if you ignore all my other feedback and you only do one thing, do this, introduce more pauses into your speech. So sometimes that one thing is very obvious, that one thing that is holding the speaker back, that everyone in the room you feel, they are all noticing and thinking about and asking themselves, why is that happening? So that becomes obviously the clear priority. But there is another dimension of looking at it, right? Which is what you also mentioned. Some of the very obvious things, all the other speaker, if it is a contest environment, a lot of speakers would already have tackled. And that's extremely valid. That is a good reason. That is a good reason actually to not mention that. And again, it is still with the best interest of the speaker in mind, because you'll be giving them fresh feedback that they would not have heard before. So if you are confident, okay, this is the obvious thing, a lot of people would have mentioned it, therefore I don't need to talk much about it, and I'm going to instead talk about these additional points that are less likely to have been spoken about, I think that is a reasonable decision making process in order to prioritize and decide what to share with the speaker. And an advantage to you of doing that is that your feedback also may come across as more unique in comparison with other contestants, and you may actually get plus points for delivering feedback in that way. So it is a process of prioritization, and you have to make decisions based on what in that moment, based on what are the major areas where the speaker should improve before their next speech, what are those really important areas, and also the uniqueness of the points that you're delivering, and whether or not other people would have already addressed these. Thank you for the question.
Thank you.
Okay, keeping in line with the time that we have, I would just like to take one last question and we can route all the questions, other questions that people are not able to ask on chat. I hope Toastmaster Ayesha can reply to them. Toastmaster Mukund.
Thank you. Thank you for that excellent keynote speech, Ayesha. It was really enlightening, at least to me. So I just have one question. Is there a technique to make notes when a speaker is delivering the speech, or do you evaluate everything as a whole speech? I hope you got the question.
Yeah, that's a very good question. So there is no one specific way to do it. I know when I was at the district semifinals, I was diligently taking notes, and the boy who was seated next to me, he was not taking any notes at all until the 5 minutes of the after the speech was over, right? So there's no correct way to do it. What I usually do is I try to take notes as the speech is going on. And that's not a perfect way either, because sometimes when you're looking down to take notes, what happens is you might miss something on stage. So how I try to avoid that is by writing and while looking up. So there's an extent to which you can do it. But I try to spend as little time looking at the paper as possible and as much time looking at the person, but I take a lot of notes. Why? Another reason is because of the need to quote examples. So especially if I'm commending something like vocal variety, and I'm saying, at that moment when you said, I felt like the world was collapsing around me. I need to remember that line, right? I need to remember that the person said the world was collapsing. I can't say something different. So I have to write it down to have that in my mind. So those are the areas at which I write down, when especially with specific quotations, specific areas of body language. Sometimes my notes might look a little bit like a mind map, where I would write something over here and I'd leave a little bit of a gap. Like if I write a general area like body language, I might, there might be branches off of it to say, these are different areas where they use body language well. For example, I might have gestures. And then I might say, they use emotional gestures when they have their hand to their heart, at that moment. Or they use descriptive gestures when they were describing how somebody looked. Or they use, gestures where they were showing with their fingers, how my first point is, my second point, my third point. So I might say, okay, body language, multiple things like this. There might be areas which branch off. And then the final thing that I do is I circle what are the major points, because you're going to deliver summary also at the end in the contest, right? So I say, okay, these are the major areas that I'm going to touch on. The emotions that they brought to the speech, their storytelling skill, their vocal variety. And then I have my examples of. Then I circle on the areas for improvement, the use of the stage, the use of dialogue in the speech. So on, I'll circle those and so that I know, okay, now I have to remember these circled items. So I generally don't take my paper back onto the stage when I'm delivering the evaluation, only at the contest. But because of that, I unfortunately have to somehow remember all the points that I had written on that paper. So this technique helps me do it, circling those things, remembering those key words, so that I have my hands free to do a lot of gesturing and to deliver a better experience on the stage. I hope that helps.
Thank you.
Thank you, Toastmaster Ayesha, and I would request anyone else who has questions to route it to the chat, because we have some few aspiring poets in the house and we have some requests. I'd like to first hand over the stage to Toastmaster Gauri. For selfish reasons, she said she has written a poem for me. So, Toastmaster Gauri, the stage is all for you.
Arsheen, after you hear it, you won't be so happy. So, okay, there's a little bit of a, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, the poem is in Hindi, but I'll just summarize the crux of it in English in the end. So it goes, जीना मुश्किल है कि आसान देख तो लो, जीना मुश्किल है कि आसान देख तो लो, लोग लगते हैं परेशान देख तो लो, ये नया शहर तो है खूब बसाया तुमने, ये नया शहर तो है खूब बसाया तुमने, क्यों पुराना हुआ वीरान जरा देख तो लो, जो खड़े हैं वहां सबकी जान सुखाने के लिए, जो खड़े हैं वहां सबकी जान सुखाने के लिए, किसका है किसके कत्ल क्या है सामान जरा देख तो लो. So it basically means the person who's standing there at the podium, you don't know that she has tools to kill and you don't know who she's going to pick to kill. So that's what
Okay, now I'm doubting my selfish reasons. I would like to call on the next speaker, and then I have a secret speaker in mind. So I'm reminding all of you again, take out your phone, go on Google and screenshot a poem that you would like to say, because I'll take the speaker name at the end. But before that, I would like to call here Toastmaster DTM Saurav for his little piece.
have it in my WhatsApp. So, I'll tell the title of the poem at the end. Her hair was up in a ponytail. Her favorite dress tied with a bow. Today was Daddy's day at school, and she couldn't wait to go. But her mommy tried to tell her that she probably should stay at home. Why? The kids might not understand if she went to school alone. But she was not afraid. She knew just what to say, what to tell her classmates of, why her father was not there. But still, her mother would, for her to face the stay alone. And that was why, once again, she tried to keep her daughter home. But the little girl went to school, eager to tell them all about a dad she never sees, a dad who never calls. There were daddies along the wall in back for everyone to meet. Children squirring impatiently, anxious in their seats. One by one, the teacher called a student from the class to introduce their daddy as seconds slowly passed. At last, the teacher called him. Every child turned to stare. Each of them was searching a person who couldn't make it there. Where's her daddy? She heard a boy call out. He probably abandoned her. Another student dared to shout. And from somewhere in the back, she heard her dad say, looks like another deadbeat dad, too busy to waste his day. The words did not offend her. As she smiled at her mom and looked back at her teacher, who told her, go on. And with hands behind her back, slowly she began to speak. And out from the mouth of the child came words incredibly unique. My daddy couldn't be here because he lives so far away. But I know he wishes he could be, since this is such a special day. And though you cannot meet him, I wanted you all to know all about my daddy, how much he loves me. And so he loved to tell me stories. He taught me to ride my bike. He surprised me with pink roses and also taught me to fly a kite. We used to share hot Sundays and ice creams in a cone. And though you cannot see him, I'm not standing here alone. Because my daddy is always with me. Even though we are apart. I know because he told me that he'll be there forever in my heart. With that, her little hand reached up and lay across her chest, feeling her own heartbeat beneath her favorite dress. And from somewhere, there in the crowd of dads, her mother stood in tears, proudly watching her daughter, who was wise beyond her years. For she stood up for the love of a man not there in her life, doing what was best for her, doing what was right. And then she dropped her hand back down, staring straight into the crowd. She finishes with a voice so soft, but the message clear and loud. I love my daddy very much. He's my shining star. And if he could, he'd have been here. But heaven is just too far. You see, he's a soldier and died just this past year when a roadside bomb hit his convoy and taught this world to fear. Sometimes, when I close my eyes, it's like he never went away. And then she closed her eyes and saw him there that day. And to her mother's amazement, she witnessed with surprise a room full of dads and children, all starting to close their eyes. Who knows what they saw before them? Who know what they started to feel inside? Perhaps for merely a second, they saw him by her side. I know you're with me, Daddy. To the silence, she called out. And what happened next made believers of those once filled with doubt. Not one in that room could explain it, for each of their eyes had been closed. For there on the desk beside her was a fragrant long stemmed rose. And the child was blessed, if only for a moment, by the love of a shining star, and given the gift of believing that heaven is never too far. Thank you. Heaven is never too far.
That was a very poignant poem. I would like everyone to give a huge round of applause to those who have. Now, throwing the googly in the house. We have a guest here today who has come here for the first time, at least in front of me. Toastmaster Ganesh. Would you like to narrate a poem?
Sure.
Please come. Can we have a round of encouragement?
He's the newest addition to the Gabbys.
That is why I applaud.
Okay. Yeah. So we start.
Yeah.
So this being human is a guest house. Every morning a new arrival, a joy, a depression, a meanness, some momentary awareness comes as an unexpected visitor. Welcome and entertain them all, even if they are proud of sorrows, who violently sweep your house empty of its furniture. Still treat each guest honorably. He may be clearing you out for some new delight. The thought, the shame, the malice, meet them at the door laughing and invite them in. Be grateful for whoever comes, because each has been sent as a guide from beyond.
I did not expect that. Being human is a guest house. I have a small little takeaway from every poem that I've heard today, but we're at the facts meeting. So I'd like Toastmaster Sudharma to tell us if there is a disqualification. Will be on time.
For prepared speech, there is no disqualifications. Evaluation, Toastmaster Mukund took 4 minutes, then he was disqualified. That's all. Over.
Thank you, Toastmaster Sudharma. We've heard a lot of very serious poems today, some funny also. I'd like to end on a very interesting poem that I heard when I was in school. And it's not a very typical poem, and I would not narrate the whole of it. That is for all of you to go back and Google. It's your homework. But this is a poem on cats. And this is a musical poem. So here it goes. Macavity is a mystery cat. He's called the hidden paw, 'cause he's the master criminal who can defy the law. He's the bafflement of Scotland Yard, the flying squad's despair. For when they reach the scene of crime, Macavity is not there. Macavity, there's no one like Macavity. He's broken every human law. He breaks the law of gravity. His powers of levitation would make a fakir stare. And when you reach the scene of crime, McCavity's not there. You may seek him in the basement. You may look up in the air. But I tell you once and once again, McCavity's not there. McCavity is a ginger cat. He's very tall and thin. You would know him if you saw him, for his eyes are sunken in. His brow is deeply lined with thought. His head is highly domed. His coat is dusty from neglect. His whiskers are uncombed. He sways his head from side to side with movements like a snake. And when you think he's half asleep, he's always wide awake. And I'll request you to Google the rest of the poem because it's very interesting and very deep. It has a message inside it. It's not just a musical poem. It's about a philosophy of life. With this, I'll hand it over back to the presiding officer for today and our new president. So, DTM Nancy. Wow. McCavity the Mystery Cat.
Yes, McCavity the Mystery Cat is the name of the poem if you are still wondering what to Google. All right, did we have a wonderful meeting today?
Yes.
How are we all feeling? Let's hear it from online people first.
Yay! It's lovely.
Enjoying, all right. Do we also have Souvik with the entire family? Only two of you. Ashwini is already throwing hearts. Gauri, highlight of the meeting.
Everything. It was a great meeting. It was a pleasure to listen to DTM Sudeesh, and it was even the education slot. I think Ayesha was just amazing with the simplicity. I remember the pointers, so that's my takeaway. It was lovely.
Amazing. Sonal, quickly, what's your highlight? Sonal, are you there? All right, I'll come back to you, Sanjay.
Yeah, the meeting was very good and I learned many things about how to do a effective evaluation and things like that.
Awesome, thank you. Srihari. Toastmaster Srihari.
Yeah, well, I could not attend the first of the meeting, and as soon as I joined into the Ayesha's talk about evaluation, and what a time I have joined in. It was great to hear from her. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Bimpi.
So I really loved today's meeting, especially from Toastmaster Ayesha, how to evaluate, give the beautiful evaluation. So overall, I have those takeaway for today's meeting, and especially Arsheen, what a great team you had today. Yeah, this is all.
Thank you, Toastmaster Bimpi. Toastmaster Sonal, are you back? Not yet there. I would love to hear your feedback in the chat box whenever you are back or if you're not able to speak right now. All right, people in the room, quickly, one highlight. TTM Sudeesh.
Yeah, I really loved the poetry session because I could resonate with some of the poems as well, so even though I'm not a poet. Yeah.
Awesome. Toastmaster Ganesh.
Yeah. So he almost made me cry. So and all the poems were very good. And I also liked the feedback session from Ayesha. Yeah.
Thank you. Paduka.
Okay. So I think after a very long time, I'm attending an in-person meeting and I could see that difference when I sit virtually as well. So, but personally, yes, I love the evaluation session and you were wonderful today. Even though I'm not a poet, as you said, I love the each and every minute. Thank you.
Nobody loved the installation ceremony.
No,
don't take away.
It's an outcome of that.
I wish we could.
I have a feedback. I know Ayesha is not there, but Ayesha, I want Sudharma, I want you to tell her it's very difficult to impress me with the keynote. I'm being very honest. I either don't listen to keynotes or I don't pay any attention to them because most keynote what I've seen is more about flaunting, particularly from the district champions. When it happens, it's all about flaunting.
Difficult audience.
Best thing of after the slice bread. That's kind of an attitude. You must tell this to Ayesha that she has a great future as a keynote speaker. Because I have done professional keynote speaking for almost 10 years now. And I can tell that with a lot of confidence, she has a great future as a keynote speaker and she must pursue that because the simplicity and modesty that she has, humility that she has. I've seen area champions and division champions, basking in their own glory. And this is a district champion who came and told several times, I'm not good at this, I'm not good at this. This is lovely. I mean, she's just brilliant and you must tell her that and thank her on behalf of the entire. She's awesome. And we want the PPT.
Yes, right.
That's final feedback.
I'm noting down everything.
Sudharma is making notes.
Are we audible, Sudharma?
Yes. Sudharma is not to be added to the notes. Okay, Ashwini, quickly, one highlight for you.
Yes, I think I had the same feeling as Saurav. I was like, wow, the person is giving so much information and also has a big smile on her face. So I think that's a big takeaway for me. So it was informative and also to know how to deliver a speech. Also, I think it was really good. I'm grateful to myself that I could make for this session. So yeah.
Thank you. And one last, Tanushika.
Yeah, so this is also my first meeting in person and as Sadhika mentioned, you actually feeling the difference and it was a delight to listen to Sudeesh's speech. It was brilliant. And of course, the poem by Saurav was also, it made me emotional. So overall, it was a brilliant session.
Thank you. Yes, Mukul.
Thank you. Well, for me, today's highlight was definitely DTM Sudeesh's speech. I think it was so mesmerizing after such a long time. I was able to hear such a flawless speech. Thank you so much for that.
Thank you. With this, we have received feedback from most of our members and guests. In case I haven't asked you for your feedback and you want to share it, please feel free to share it with me over DM. Anything for area of improvement as well, we would love to hear. You can share the same over DM. People who are in the room, they will be treated with something surprise by Toastmaster Meeta. I'm not sure what she has brought. For all of us, since it was installation ceremony, that's why we are getting the snacks. Nobody loved the installation ceremony. Yet, please wait for the snacks. And for online audience, I would like to leave you with one last poem, or shall I say verse, when our Toastmaster of the day was asking us for poems and other things. I am more of a verse person and like short verses is what I love, from Rumi to Kalidas to Dohas we hear. And since I'm a Punjabi, I would like to narrate this one in Punjabi. If you can understand Punjabi, it's okay. If you can't, I'll try to translate. Sir te lahu, mathe te reet. Sir te lahu, mathe te reet means I've got blood on my head and I've got some soil on my forehead. Sir te lahu, mathe te reet. Kyunki sajjana ne phul marya gamle isme. Because my girlfriend hit me with a flower along with a pot. With this, I end this session, the meeting number 186 of the Gabbys Toastmasters Club. Thank you. I'll see you.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye bye, everyone.
What are we missing? What snacks?
Yeah, what?
Come for treat. So
Actually,
we have
you're not here,
sweet
but-
and
No, it's okay if they don't come. We'll send the pictures to